It's late and your phone lights up. A friend needs you, really needs you. And without even thinking about it, you're there, calm, steady, saying exactly the right thing. You always know the right thing. Now think about the last time your own world was the one falling apart. The bad news, the long night, the thing you couldn't fix. Think about whose phone lit up. For a lot of people, the honest answer is nobody's, because you didn't call. You're the one people come to. When something breaks in someone's life, you're the first name they think of and you pick up every time. You know about everyone's breakups, everyone's health scares, everyone's quietly terrible week. You carry the details of a dozen lives in your head. And if someone asked what's going wrong in your life right now, they'd have no idea where to start, because somewhere along the way, you stopped telling them. You've probably got a line for it. I'm low maintenance. I don't like to burden people. I'm just independent. You say it like it's the weather, just a fact about you, like your height. I want to gently take that explanation apart, because being the strong one isn't a personality trait you were born with, it's something you learned. And once you see how you learned it, the whole thing starts to make a different kind of sense. Let's start with where it usually begins, because it often begins early. Maybe you were the kid people called so mature for your age, the responsible one, the easy one, the one who didn't need much, who could be counted on, who handled things. And it felt like a compliment. It was a compliment. But if you look closely, it was also a job. Psychologists have a name for what happens when a child ends up in a caretaking role. When you're the one holding the emotional weather of the house, mediating, comforting, being the steady one, before you were old enough to need steadiness yourself. They call it parentification, and here's what it quietly teaches a kid. It teaches you that your place in a relationship is to be useful, that being needed is how you earn your spot, that the way you stay safe and loved is by being the one who gives, never the one who takes. You didn't decide that, you absorbed it, the way kids absorb everything. And then you grew up and you got very, very good at it. So let's talk about what very good at it actually looks like, because this is where it stops being a childhood story and becomes the shape of your whole adult life. There's a difference between two kinds of caring, and it's the most important idea in this whole video. The first kind, researchers just call communion. It's warmth. It's caring about the people around you, showing up for them, wanting them to be okay, while still in the background caring about yourself too. Your needs are in the room. You matter in your own equation. The second kind has a heavier name, unmitigated communion, and it's the same warmth, the same showing up, the same caring, but with yourself taken completely out of the picture. Other people's needs are the only needs. Yours quietly stop counting. Picture a set of scales. On one side, the people you love. On the other side, you. Healthy communion keeps both sides in view. Unmitigated communion takes you off the scale entirely and just keeps piling weight on the other side. And here's the part that matters, because it's easy to assume more caring is always better. But it isn't. The research on this is actually pretty clear. Balanced communion, caring with yourself still in the equation, tends to be good for you. It's linked to feeling well, feeling connected. But unmitigated communion, that same warmth with the self erased, is linked to the opposite, to feeling worn down, to low mood, to distress that builds up quietly over years. Same kindness, same generous heart. The only difference is whether you're allowed to be one of the people you take care of. And for the friend everyone leans on, you're usually not. Now, being the strong friend has two halves, and we've only talked about one. The first half is the overgiving, the endless showing up, that part everyone sees. The second half is quieter, and it's the one that really defines you. You don't let it go the other way. Someone tries to help you, and you deflect. Someone asks if you're okay, and you're already fine, already changing the subject, already asking about them. You will pour into people for years and freeze the second they try to pour back. Attachment researchers noticed these two things travel together. There's a pattern they called compulsive caregiving, that driven need to take care of everyone, and right alongside it, compulsive self-reliance, disowning your own need for people, insisting deep down that you can't really depend on anyone but yourself. They sound like opposites, but they're not. They're two sides of one thing you learned a long time ago, that leaning on people isn't safe, so you became the one who's leaned on instead. It's much safer up there. You can probably feel this one in your body. Someone does you a small favor, and there's this low itch until you've paid it back. A coffee for a coffee, a favor for a favor. Getting something without immediately squaring up feels less like a gift and more like a debt. Or something genuinely hard happens to you, and your very first instinct, before you've even felt your own feelings about it, is to manage everyone else's, to reassure them, to soften it so they're not worried, to be okay so that they can be. If that's familiar, I want you to notice something. That's not you being strong in that moment. That's you being unable to be held, even when you desperately need it, even when it's right there. So why is it so hard? Why can't you just let people in? Because of one more piece, and it's the engine underneath all of this. Somewhere along the line, your sense of worth got pinned to being the dependable one. Psychologists talk about how our self-esteem gets staked on specific things. And when yours is staked on being the strong one, the person who gives and copes and never needs, then that role isn't optional, which means accepting help isn't just a little awkward for you, it's threatening. If being needed is how you know you're worth something, then being the one who needs, even for a moment, feels like the floor dropping out. That's the real reason just let people help you is so much harder than it sounds. People say it like it's easy. For you, it's asking you to risk the one thing holding your whole sense of value together. Being needed feels safe. Being cared for feels exposed. Giving keeps you in control, up high, out of view. Receiving means climbing down and letting someone see you. And you've spent your whole life making very sure no one sees you down there. Which brings us to the loneliest part. And if you felt this, I want you to know it has a reason. You can be surrounded by people who genuinely love you, a full life, a phone full of names, and still feel completely alone in it. Not because no one's there, but because no one knows. You can be the person everyone relies on and be quietly falling apart at the same time. And here's the cruel trick. Nobody notices. Because the competence is real. The "I'm fine" is convincing. You're that good at it. And here's the gentlest, hardest thing I'll say in this whole video. The reason no one checks on you isn't that they don't care. It's that, without ever meaning to, you trained them not to. You got so fluent at being okay that you edited yourself right out of their concern. Every "I'm fine anyway" taught them there was nothing to worry about. You built the very wall you now feel alone behind. Not because you're doing anything wrong, because it was the only way you ever felt safe. So let me put the whole thing back together, because I think it changes how you see yourself. You are not cold, and you are not just independent. You learned early that your worth was in being needed, so you became someone who gives endlessly and refuses to receive. You took yourself off your own scale, and you built a life where you hold everyone and no one holds you. The strength is real. Let me be clear about that. Your reliability, your steadiness, the way people feel safe with you, that's genuine and it's beautiful, and I'm not asking you to throw it away. But refusing to be held isn't strength. That part isn't the gift. That part is the old fear, still running, still convinced that needing someone will cost you. Because here's the distinction I want you to keep. Being needed and being known are not the same thing. You have spent your life being needed. You deserve at least once to be known. And the way out isn't to care less. Remember, it was never the caring that hurt you. Balanced warmth is good for you. It's the erasing of yourself that does the damage. So the fix isn't to stop being warm. It's to stop leaving yourself out of the warmth. It can start almost embarrassingly small. Letting one person see one thing that isn't fine, accepting a favor without instantly repaying it, just sitting in the discomfort of being given to, answering "how are you" with something true one time and letting it be a little awkward. None of that makes you weak. None of it makes you a burden. It just lets the thing you give everyone else finally flow back toward you. It lets a relationship go both ways, which is the only way it was ever supposed to go. So think about that phone again. The one that lights up with everyone else's hard nights. You will always be the person who picks up. That's not going anywhere, and it shouldn't. But maybe the next time your own world is the one coming apart, you let it be your turn. You let someone else be the steady voice for once. Not because you've stopped being strong, but because being able to be held, that's its own kind of strength. Maybe the harder kind. And you, of all people, have earned it. You've spent so long being one of the people who cares. It's okay to finally be one of the people who's cared for. If this felt a little too much like being seen, that's what this channel is for. Understanding yourself a little better, one thing at a time. Nothing beats a solid mind.